Mhm. All right. Should be good. I think. Oh boy. This is gonna be a little bit of me in the beginning talking to myself. Um, oh boy, I'm probably live on Facebook right now. Is it live? Yes. Okay, thank you. It is now live streaming on Facebook. Lenny, take it away.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you all. I just wanted to share my book, We Are Indivisible. It is a blueprint for democracy after Trump. My name is Lenny Mana Hoppenworth, and I'm live streaming to you on Indivisible Illinois Facebook, but we're also here on a Zoom meeting as well. It seems like a lot of us are on back-to-back Zoom meetings, but I love the Zoom meeting because we don't have to wear masks and we could be together, and we've broken down physical barriers and we could be with each other in a snap. So I'm really grateful that you're here today. I was paging through my book, which I was excited to get. This is all about Indivisible and how the movement started after Trump got elected. And I love the dedication. It says, for the indivisibles across the country who took a Google Doc and turned it into a movement. And this was written by the co-founders, Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levin. I love the story about Indivisible. I remember reading about Indivisible on the Google Doc. It was passed on to me by an ex-Obama intern, and she said, Lenny, you should really check this out. I had just come back from the Women's March. We marched on Washington from Illinois to DC and back. We took a Greyhound bus, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do after that. I can't believe it's been that long, 3.5 years, more than, trying to figure out what the next step is, and that she passed this on. From there, we learned more about Indivisible when it was highlighted on Rachel Maddow. And really, Indivisible is all about, it's a pro-democracy movement, and it's a reminder that elected officials are a representative of us, and we need to hold them accountable. So Indivisible Illinois has gone on to endorse in several races, such as the governor's race in 2018 for J.B. Pritzker. We helped endorse and turn out canvassers, phone bankers, and text bankers for Lauren Underwood and Sean Casten in the 14th and the 6th district. And this year, we're super excited to also endorse in several congressional districts, including Marie Newman in the 3rd district. We're super excited to get her over the finish line in November. We've also got Danny Brzezowski, who's from the Illinois 16th district, which is just outside of Lauren Underwood's district in Illinois. And she's super exciting. We're going to hear from her the 3rd week of September 24th. We've also got an endorsement for Betsy Dirksen-Londrigan in the 13th district, downstate, central Illinois, Springfield area, and Ray Lindsay in Metro East area. And even Erica in the 15th district, where she is running again against John Shimkus, who is retiring. So we've got so many to turn out for. But we also know that in this moment, it's I can't believe it's been 4 years already. I remember coming back from the women's, or organizing for the Women's March, and women were sitting in the room saying, what's next? What are we going to do? This is the worst thing that's happened in our lives. Well, 4 years later, here we are, and we have a chance to vote in November. I have my button right here, vote in November, and I know that Jonathan, who you're going to meet later, is going to show you his button too. And that's the whole reason why we're here on Thursdays, is to remind people that there's so much to do between now and November, just to get people interested in turning out, to get registered to vote, check their voter registration, to vote by mail if they can, to stay safe in this moment, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. It's been 6 months, but yes, we are still in the middle of a pandemic until we get a vaccine or treatment. We are encouraging people to wear their mask, and yet here we go. People are still turning out in the streets because of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and how many more others do we need to witness on video? The fact that we are still allowing lynching to happen in this moment is just plain, it's something that people did not want to look at before, but we are forced to, we must. And businesses and institutions and sports teams are also forcing us to look and to listen and to learn and to share and to pay attention in this moment, because there is no running away from the race war that Trump is trying to incite right now. It is happening. We're also pointing to Wisconsin, because we know that state is pivotal in this presidential election. So Indivisibles and Grassroots and many organizations are pointing to Wisconsin from the Midwest. And later on, we're really excited to hear from them from Wisconsin Democrats on how we can all plug in to the work that needs to be done to get out the vote and to tell people how to vote safely. I want to remind you that in Illinois, we have 108 election authorities, and that means 108 different ways that we do our elections. So I'm in Chicago, but my family who lives in Cook County, they live in a different election authority. So they actually have to do their they have to follow the way that they do their elections over there. So that is different in Wisconsin, because there are over 1,100 election authorities in Wisconsin, which is the reason why we are asking people to get involved in Wisconsin, to actually go to Wisconsin to be a poll watchers from Illinois, or if you're in Wisconsin, to be a poll worker. So we're going to hear from Wisconsin Dems later on. Today, I'm super excited that we have members from Indivisible, IL9. They're also members of IL Vote and Indivisible Illinois, who, again, you know, this movement is built on volunteerism. And because now is not the time to sit out, they wanted to do something, got together, decided that it was hard to put together the pieces on how to vote safely, how to vote, make sure that our vote was secure, and make sure that people knew where to go to vote, whether they wanted to vote in person, early vote, or vote by mail. It was really hard to find all that information online. So got together and built out a brand new website. So I'm super excited to introduce both Jonathan Rogoff and Sarah Wallington here today. First, I would love to bring on Jonathan, because he and I have known each other for a while in our activism world, but also through dance. I'm a small business owner. I own a little dancewear store, and Jonathan was actually a customer of mine years ago for ballroom shoes. So I miss I miss dance. I miss social dance. I miss Argentine tango, actually hugging on people and being close to people. We know that we need to be apart right now. So I commiserate with Jonathan because he was also a competitive ballroom dancer in his day. And we're just to keep that going. But we're really excited to have you, John. We'd just love to hear like a little bit about you. You're the one who helped to create this website, and if you could do that, then we'll also introduce Sarah too. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lenny. Yeah, it was, I'd been looking at this for a while. My background is in technology, software development, mobile app development. I've been an IT director. I've been a VP of technology for all for small companies. I largely do stuff for, like I say, if a company is big enough to have a 401k, then it's too big for me, and I've got to move on to a new startup. So in some ways, Indivisible is just kind of like a startup. It's just with volunteers. Anyhow, so I'd been looking at some of this stuff, and I'd been looking at all the complexities around how we vote on, how to vote, and even just here in Illinois. And it was like, oh my goodness, there's so many different things. How do I share the right information to the right people when I've got friends that are all across the state and so forth? And it was just looking very confusing to build something along those lines. And then all of a sudden all this stuff started with coming from the national level, with all the misinformation and confusion and everything else that was happening along those lines. That I won't get into all the details of that. I think everybody knows them already, but there was a lot of that stuff going on. So at one point I happened to be chatting with Rose, who I was a member of the Vote by Mail Taskforce there with her, and was talking about how, man, I wish there was a way to do all this, but it would be a Herculean effort to collect all that data and put it all together and so forth. And it's like, but if somebody could collect that data, I could put that into a website and make that actually look presentable. And I had some ideas on that. And so at this point, I'm actually going to turn it over to Sarah, who actually was the one who did that Herculean effort and collected a lot of that stuff. And Rose connected the two of us. But so Sarah, if you want to kind of describe what your background and what it is you did.
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. So I work as a law librarian. So that's kind of how I got interested in this particular area of work here on the website. But I have a master's degree that's pretty much how to find information, how to organize it, and how to make it accessible to people. And as a law librarian, I already spend a lot of time poking around on local government websites, trying to kind of find the needle in the internet haystack. So when I got involved in this project, I really didn't know, what the purpose was. I didn't know we were going to make this into the website that it's become, but I had just started working with Indivisible. I became a deputy voter registrar for Illinois Votes and was just receiving the emails, and I saw a spreadsheet and it said they wanted somebody to collect information from all the election authorities. And I just emailed Rose and Lenny and I said, I think I can do that. And they put me right to work and I started making the spreadsheet. And Jonathan, I don't know if you want to say anything more, if you want me to start talking about kind of a few of the nuts and bolts there.
I mean, that's up to you if you want to go into any of the. I mean, certainly some of these election authority websites were a little tricky, and some of them don't even have websites and so forth. So yeah, I'm not sure if you want to go into any.
Yeah, sure. I can
a little story on that or not.
Yeah, so the complications that have been mentioned here, first of all, as Lenny said, there's no unified system here. So every election authority in the state has their own website. They have their own, a lot of them have their own forms that you fill out to get a vote by mail application. There's a different place to send it back to. And every election authority can also determine how they want you to return the form. Some of them you literally still have to print out, fill out by hand, and mail back. Some of them have, websites and electronic forms that you can fill out to get your vote by mail ballot application sent in. So the effort here was kind of, first of all, locating all the websites for all the election authorities, because honestly, some of the small ones don't even have a website. And then looking at their process for those applications, how they were accepting applications, and what people would have to do to fill them out. And I think every time we've kind of finished gathering information, we have a new idea and we keep on adding on to that spreadsheet and mapping more information onto there. I will say probably the most annoying thing that I did, but that I'm most excited about in the spreadsheet and the information we're offering is mapping every election authority to an indivisible chapter across the state. It was pretty annoying to figure all of that out. But now when you go onto our website, as Jonathan's going to show you, you not only have your individual information about how you can get ready to vote in your election authority, but you can also get plugged into those chapters. And I think that's really important because this website is highly specialized for our current election, but we want to get people plugged into Indivisible now because we all know that our work continues after November 3rd. So this is our way of being forward thinking there too.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So yeah, so Sarah did all that work to create all that base information, and so from that, then I had an idea of how I kind of wanted to display it, and so then I worked with again went back to Rose and Lenny, and we got Madeline involved a little bit and did some other stuff too, and started to present this and pull it together. And started off in moving from the spreadsheet to a Google Doc, and then eventually to a website template, and then eventually to what we're going to show in a little bit. But it was literally, it was a lot of work, but it was kind of one of those things where I guess I always go back to my father was a friend and had as a personal mentor, Buckminster Fuller, and one of his famous quotes is that the things to do are the things that need doing, that you see need to be done, and that no one else seems to see needs to be done. And this fit all three categories for me. It was definitely, we needed to have a place for people to go. We needed to have something that didn't have a barrier to entry in terms of having to put in your contact information and all this other stuff. It needed to be something that didn't require 20 clicks to get to where you wanted to. I was hearing somebody was talking just last night, I think it was, on a different call, and they were complaining about just the number of clicks. If you go to the Illinois State Board of Elections site to try and get to any of this stuff, it just takes so many clicks to get to the form. It's just a form that should be easily and readily available. So we've made it very easy. You just come to our page, you find your election, your particular election authority, and there's a link right there straight to the form, whether it's a print form or an online form, and to some degree even both. But so we put a chunk of this stuff together and assembled the website, and then we also added in. So, well, I guess at this point I will go ahead and share it. I've kept you waiting long enough without seeing it, although some of you may have gone to it. Although I don't know if we've actually even published the link yet. But oh, come on, let's try that one more time. Share. There we go. So here is the website. We've got the 3 calls to action right up top. Make a plan to vote, register, check your registration, and then request your mail-in ballot. Got one of the new things we just added as we were looking at the numbers. We've got over 1.2 million Illinois residents have already requested their ballots. So I mean, that's given the numbers of voters and number of registered, that's a pretty significant number, but it's certainly something that we can double or hopefully triple or even quadruple here yet in the next month or two. That'd be nice to do. But we've got a good start. We've got some information here on how to register or check your voter registration, because that's the same no matter where you are in the state. That pretty much is standard statewide. That doesn't have all these ins and outs and complexities on jurisdiction by jurisdiction. Then we've got one of the things that we've added a little bit more recently, and one of the things we're going to be working to keep up to date, which is the making a plan to vote here section here, that gets into, and we've got color coded and we've got risk levels, and it just talks about very clearly, if you want to see what to do and how to do it based on where we are and how to be safe in terms of voting, here's how to do it. So right now, you should be applying for your mail-in ballot. We've got from now to September 20. Let's try and get that done. That's not the technical date on it, it's not a deadline or anything, but certainly if we want to do it safely and want to get it done, that's the recommended date for when we get this done. Down here, we've got a list of everybody that's got for every jurisdiction that has an online application, they're all listed here with a one-click directly to any one that you want to go to. If you need to confirm your registration, you can also do that, which is highly recommended for everyone to just confirm that voter registration, make sure that it's got the current address and so forth, and if your name changed or any of that type of stuff, that gets addressed right off the bat. Then obviously starting in late September and into October, that's when, starting on September 24th, is when a lot of these ballots are going to get mailed out. And so people, I think there's a lot of places are saying they'll have them by October 5th. And so then that's when we want people to take that, turn it around and return it as quickly as they can. And if we do that, if we get those returned before October 20, then that should, there shouldn't be any issues, whether you're using the U.S. Postal Service or you're using a drop box, or even if there's, concern, any sort of concerns or anything with a signature or something, you'll have plenty of time to get all that addressed and resolved and so forth, so that everything is all making sure that your vote is definitely going to count. That, there's not going to be much option for whatever nonsense is coming from the White House or from anything else in terms of trying to prevent people being able to vote. Who knows what's going to happen? Let's just get it all done and get it done early. And that's the recommendation here. And then obviously, as we get down a little further down, once we get past October 21, now we're less than 2 weeks from Election Day. And so at that point, things start to get a little more dicey. So use a drop box. If use a drop box, return it to the election office. Only use USPS if it's necessary at this point, because again, who knows what's going to be happening at that, at this point, and why take the risk? And then there's also, if you haven't done any of that or you're not comfortable with any of that, then we can get into early voting. Certainly, as we get closer to this period, we'll add in a lot more information about early voting and how to early vote and where to early vote. But right now, we're trying to keep it very much focused on trying to do the safest option, the mail-in, the mail-in option. As I think somebody was saying recently, you can always get it to be safe. And if you decide, as you get into late October that you're not comfortable with the mail-in option for whatever reason, you can always take your ballot, have it spoiled, and then go ahead and vote at the polls if you need to. But don't do what the president's saying. Don't do it the other way around. Don't try and do both. That's not legal. Don't do that. And then obviously the last, and hopefully let's try and keep the numbers down. Let's try and not have all the huge lines and have the media talking about the lines at the polls and how late the polls have to be open and extended and all this other stuff on Election Day. If we absolutely have to, let's do that, but let's try and avoid that as much as possible. That's just the risk there, for both because of the pandemic and because of whatever else is going on in this election cycle. That's just really not the way we want to be doing it. So we've got the basic, the basics of it. As I said, we'll be, as we get into, into late September and into October, we'll be updating this with more detail as you get further down and removing the stuff that's already passed and so forth. So the plan is to keep updating this once a week, once every other week, something along those lines. Right now, I think I've been probably doing it a couple times a week. And so that may be happening. Not sure what hopefully I'll be able to keep to that. Then we have the core information here, which is about requesting your mail-in ballot, which I will scroll down and get to here in just a second. We also have some frequently asked questions and some other resources. Rose recently sent me, and I really love this little video. If you guys haven't watched this video, it's a really fun little video that kind of debunks a lot of myths around voting. This is provided by When We All Vote, and so Michelle Obama is connected with that and some others. But it's just a really cute little video that's worth watching if you have a couple minutes. And then we've got some additional information here on how people can get involved. So you can join the Vote by Mail Taskforce, which we're part of the group that Sarah and I are part of that group, and when Rose is kind of the leader of that group, and that's kind of what developed this website coming out of it. There's also a lot of stuff with a virus-free voting social media toolkit, and they're doing a lot of Twitter storms, at least weekly, if not more often. There's also Lenny does IL Vote and for deputy voter registrars and so forth. And then there's also inside here, as I get down into each one of these things, and I guess I'll go ahead and get into this. And so when you get to each area, we've got it broken down. If you're in Chicago, Cook, or one of the surrounding counties, where it's right up here at the top. And if you're, then get into some of the other, get outside of that, then you get into all these other counties, and that's all alphabetically organized at that point. But so if we were to open one of these, you've got right here, first thing here is where to request your ballot, online or print application, depending on what they have. Here's, as Sarah had alluded to, here we've got some of all the different, in Chicago and in some of the other places here, there's a bunch of different Indivisible chapters you can join, and you've got plenty of options. Some of the ones downstate, it's a little, as Sarah had mentioned, it's a little harder to figure out what's the closest and most appropriate chapter to do. We've got then some important facts related to this. One of the key things I'm trying to update is making sure that we've got information about drop boxes and where they have links and where they're publishing the early voting sites, putting some of that type of stuff and how to do that. Some of the things, depending on if they've got some of the dates fully published on some of that, I'm grabbing some of that regarding early voting. A lot of the places haven't fully fleshed out the early voting piece yet, but we will definitely be getting to that over by the end of the month here. And then for the places that don't have a secured drop box, and we're still working on this, Sarah's collected the information, and it's we haven't gotten it fully transmitted into the site, but we will have the address and the phone number for every election authority so that you know where to go, because you can always, no matter where you are in the state, you can drop off your ballot at the election authority. So if you don't trust the USPS. Another thing I've got here, which I definitely want to highlight, is wherever we could find it, we have information on how to become an election judge or election coordinator. In some places, the deputy voter registrar or poll watcher, but in a lot of the places, they just have the election judge and the election coordinator pieces, and those are pretty much, I think, paid positions, pretty much, in just about everywhere, if not everywhere. Different rates depending on where you are, but they're all there. And so if you're interested in getting involved, again, come to this website, and then you can get right to the link and right to the page of where you can find out what the information you need to be able to get active involved in that. So yeah, so we've got that. We've got, I'll just open up a couple of the others of these so you can kind of see what we've got in here. So yeah, like here in DuPage, they sent it to all active registered voters. The law made it to where they didn't have to do all registered voters, but a lot of counties did, and other stuff where we were able to capture that information. We put it in here. Got a couple other interesting things, like down here in Champaign County, they actually gave us a graphic for where their drop boxes are going to be, and we just found out recently that they've ordered orange drop boxes for Champaign County. I'm pretty sure that's the only county that's going to have orange drop boxes. But if you're in Champaign County, you know what you're looking for in that case. So we're trying to keep up on some of the stuff as much as we can. I'm trying to keep in touch with Indivisible groups in a lot of these areas and counties, and as they send me information about what's happening in them, or as there are newspaper articles that are talking about some of this stuff, frankly, a lot of it is coming out of newspaper for Chicago and the surrounding counties. And the newspaper media around here is keeping up on a lot of that stuff and providing stuff. Although some of the information that we've put in here is literally from volunteers that have said, I don't know this information and I don't see it on the website. So they call their election authority, they get the answer, and then they email me with the information and I put it on the site. So it's up here. So that's the core of a lot of it. We also felt we needed to include some frequently asked questions. We've been recently updating some of these and adding more stuff to that. So there's everything of, what is the process? So who's eligible? How do I get a ballot? How do I apply? What's, is an absentee ballot different from vote by mail? No. And then what's the process and the timing? And there's been a lot of questions and a lot of nonsense online about postage, and no, you don't really need to add additional postage, but and a lot of places are providing prepaid postage, not all. That we haven't necessarily delved into, but if people are asking about specific areas or other stuff, we certainly can. We've got, you can have somebody else take it to the Dropbox if you wish, but you do have to authorize the envelope. And then, as I'd mentioned earlier, if you chose at the last minute, I want to go ahead and vote in person, they can spoil you take it with you, they can spoil your ballot and you can vote. Just make sure you don't lose that mail-in ballot when you get it, because you're going to need that one way or the other. if you either turn it in so it can be spoiled or actually, use it and vote with it. We also, we've got some additional other stuff in terms of just the process, the USPS processing, which shouldn't be a problem. Questions about, is it being counted? There are some legal things about regarding when they can start counting the ballots and when they can process them and so forth. Ultimately, they don't start counting them until 7 p.m. on election day, certainly in Chicago and Cook County. We've got, they've got counting machines, and so those shouldn't be, it should be a quick process for them to just feed all that stuff into those counting machines and get some data out of that once they get to it. So that, again, shouldn't be a problem at all. But yes, there certainly is in some of these other counties and some of these other areas. If it becomes a tight race, we may well see that it may take them a few days to process and count all these ballots and come up with the final results and the outcome. There's also, I want to highlight something here that Matt Flam wrote for us and put together regarding mail fraud and just the false narrative of mail fraud and how that, or vote by mail fraud, in terms of how all that works and everything there. So if that's something that you have any questions about, I encourage you to read that and find out more about that. It's also a little bit more about how else you can get involved. We may add a couple more questions to that section as well. And we've got a few additional resources here down at the bottom, as well as another, something that we got from the 6 Dems that talks about just what is the process. So if you want to actually see it in video form rather than reading the FAQs and some of the other information from the election authorities, there's another way to, another form and way to kind of understand how the vote by mail process works. So that's the site as it stands today. Certainly I've been looking at stuff, like I said, we've still got some stuff that we're looking to add as far as the election authority locations and the Dropbox locations. Rose and Sarah and I have recently started looking at some of the data that we can get from the state. That's again breaks into these same 108 jurisdictions and says how many registered voters there are and how many have already requested the vote by mail applications, and that's where this 1.2 million residents came from. It's from that data directly from the Illinois State Board of Elections. And so they're publishing that data. I don't know if it's daily or weekly that they're publishing those numbers, but certainly I'd love to do some stuff to get some graphs or charts or whatever that kind of indicate what percentage of voters in the different locations have actually applied to vote by mail already, and kind of so we can actually see how people in your area are taking it and how serious. Because I know there's also some stuff. So there are some people that are listening to some of the stories that are out there and are concerned about whether this is safe or not safe. And we definitely want to highlight that there's a lot of people are doing it, and this is definitely very safe, and this is definitely something that people should be doing. So I've kind of run through that. I don't know if there's anything that Sarah or Rose or Lenny think that I may have missed that also need to be highlighted. But certainly if not, then certainly I guess we can open it up to any questions if we've got time. And I'll hand it back to Lenny.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm going to read off one question from Facebook, and you kind of addressed it a little bit already, but we'll reiterate it again. It says, a question from Facebook: can we take the mail-in ballot to vote early, or do we have to vote on election day with the mail-in ballot?
As I understand it, you can take it to either, and what they will do is they will just what they call spoiling the ballot. So then you won't be able to use that ballot, but then they will give you a ballot, at that point and in that place. If there's, I know there's a couple people on here that may have a little more background. If Matt or somebody has a more technical answer.
That's correct. If you order a mail ballot and then you decide to go in and vote early, bring the mail ballot with you. They'll spoil it, and they'll give you a new ballot so you can vote in person. Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say, Jonathan did a great job with this site, and everybody who contributed to it. I'm really proud of it. It's a great thing. Please, everybody, put this link out to every one of your groups over and over and over again. Every communication you have with them for the next 8 weeks or 8.5 weeks should include the link for this. It's got so much valuable information There are other sites out there, but this is the best.
Thank you, Matt.
That's awesome. Thank you, Matt. I also wanted to point to one thing that is really distinct about this website is that we're encouraging people to find their local grassroots group or their local indivisible group, because we believe that an informed, engaged citizenry is going to save our democracy. And we are a part of a national grassroots movement that started really from a Google document, but really the way that you can invite others in is through local groups. So I would love to just pass it to Sarah, and then we're going to move on to Wisconsin Dems. Sarah, I just want you to if you could just please share with us what you've gleaned about Indivisible since you've been with us.
Sure. Lenny's so good at putting me on the spot. I think what I've really enjoyed, and I think this project has kind of been a perfect example of, is that there are ways for everybody to get involved, you know, whatever, you know, skills you have or your style of activism. You know, I'm not necessarily great at like convincing strangers of something or being on social media, but I kind of found something very specific that I was good at here, and I hope that's encouragement for a lot of other people to plug in and use whatever skills they have too.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you, Matt, and everyone else who has contributed to this website, including Rose, who I'm going to bring on right now. Rose, thank you for leading this coordinated effort in Illinois with indivisible groups to win Wisconsin, and also to find ways to push that we need more secure avenues to secure our votes, not only in Illinois, but in Wisconsin and throughout our nation. You've done so much work on that front, and we're going to talk more about that with the Wisconsin Dems, but I would love to bring you on to introduce yourself and to tell us where we are with that.
Yes, most definitely. Good evening. Happy to be here. And I just want to congratulate Jonathan and Sarah. It was a tremendous effort. I can't even explain to you the amount of work that went into this website. It's so well done and so seamless. And I think Jonathan makes it sound like it's so easy, but I know I was there in the back room watching Jonathan and Sarah work, and I might have had an idea here and there, and they made it happen. So I just applaud both of you. Again, we're volunteers, and don't know if you kept track of your unbillable hours, but I know you put tremendous amount of time, and I know you both work. So I want to amplify what Matt said. I hope everybody takes this site. Our friends in Wisconsin, if you know people in Illinois, and I don't know, maybe Jonathan will create something for Wisconsin. I can just feel him rolling his eyes right now. But thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's spread this out. We have 61 days. We do have these Twitter storms every Wednesday at noon, and we do amplify the website at that time, but this website makes it easy for people to vote, and we most definitely need that. So there's been two areas that I have concentrated on really, I'd say since 2018. And those areas are, surprise, voting rights, as well as Wisconsin. Call it women's intuition, whatever you want to call it. But back in 2018, I had a sense that Wisconsin was going to be critically important. And I still feel that. I do have a little competition with my friends from Indivisible that are working on Michigan. But we go back and forth. I definitely think I'm right. I think that the path to the White House is through Wisconsin. And yeah, that's a lot of responsibility that our friends Heba, and I'm just meeting Alexis this evening, and it's a pleasure to have you on the team. I've been working with Heba. She's been a blessing to us all because the Illinois Indivisibles have wanted to activate in Wisconsin and had been taking up a lot of time of the regional organizers. And it seems like longer maybe than it was, Heba, but we were introduced on the phone, and sometimes you talk to people, you never hear from them again. That did not happen with Heba. She is our director of training for all of the out-of-state people. We keep her busy. She most definitely keeps us busy. There's tons of opportunities that she is going to tell you about. And if you can, like us, split your time in between, those of us that are in Illinois, in between Illinois and Wisconsin. Illinois is important for a lot of reasons, including fair tax, but Wisconsin is all about democracy. And I don't say that feeling like I'm being hyperbolic. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Heba. Take it away, please.
Thank you so much, Rose, and thank you to everyone for inviting us to be on the call. It's always great to be here with you all. My name is Heba. I'm the Digital Organizing Director for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin and the Wisconsin Coordinated Campaign. Really glad to be chatting with all of you. As Rose said, we've had a very close relationship with your group and many other folks in Illinois who have done the hard work of calling into the neighboring state to make sure that we win, that we flip Wisconsin this year and make sure that we're flipping the entire country in the process. We have a lot of work ahead of us. It is 2 months today until the election happens. And that's a lot of work that we need to get done between now and then. We are kicking things into even higher gear, believe it or not, with increased phone banks on a weekly basis and effectively a weekend of action or a slightly toned down version of a weekend of action every weekend between now and election day. So this upcoming weekend, we do have a weekend of action with 3 shifts on Saturday and 2 shifts on Sunday. We are calling primarily into 2 types of universes right now, but we're really leaning into the vote by mail universe, calling people who could benefit from applying for a vote by mail ballot and making sure they know what that process looks like and have the support that they need. And that if they do have questions, they're also aware of our voter protection hotline, which my colleague Alexis will talk about a bit more here in a second. The other universe that we're calling, and I know a lot of people are interested in this, is our general persuasion universe. So calling into areas where, a conversation with a voter might persuade them to support Joe Biden more strongly than before that conversation. And so getting help from folks in Illinois to make those calls has been really beneficial to us. We're able to reach more voters and have more significant and strong conversations with them. I'll also mention that we have our weekly Thursday phone banks, which you all know about. And this week we introduced a weekly Tuesday phone bank, also at 6 o'clock. So if you all are available on Tuesdays, would love to incorporate you into those efforts. We do have trainings as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're a first timer, would love to have you on one of those trainings as well, as we talk about the dialer, the script itself. If you've made calls with us before, I'm really excited about this. Our dialer system has some cool new features that allows you to send follow-up texts and follow-up emails, which, like, as a campaign nerd, is very exciting to me. Just making sure that people have all the resources they need. So if it's been a while since you phone banked with us, please do come back, see these new features, and give us some feedback on how these tools are working. But really, it's all about the phone banking right now. We are still working virtually and remotely, and so every call that we're making has double the impact than it would at any other time in any other election. So with that, I know I shared some links, and we will be dropping those in the live stream here. So please go ahead, take a look at those, click on them and sign up for at least a couple of shifts would be great. More would be even better. And I'll look forward to seeing you all soon. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Rose.
Thank you so much. And I want to say equally important to the work that Heba is doing is the work of the Wisconsin voter protection. I remember way back when the fearless leader, David Kroenig, was hired. And I asked him, you just have such a Herculean effort ahead of you. Tell me about all of your staff. And it was just David. So that team has grown. I had the opportunity to meet, I think it was JP, first of all, when he trained me to be on the hotline. And then Ellen came along. So just a dynamic team. I had the opportunity to speak to Marzi, new to the team. And now I'm just thrilled to find out that you are there, Alexis. I would love to hear a little bit more about you and your background, if you don't mind, since you're new to the family and you now are part of the family, and we hope to see you on a regular basis. We don't let go of people, right, Heba? So yes, I just can't explain how important I feel. I know Lenny has heard, and others that do attend meetings with me have heard how important I think voter protection is in Wisconsin. But Alexis, that's your job. I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. It's good to be back with family, actually. So start off, my name is Alexis Rangel. My pronouns are they and them. And I am the Deputy Voter Protection Director, one of our Deputy Voter Protection Directors for the Wisconsin Dems and the Coordinated Campaign. My area is I am specifically focused on the city of Milwaukee and on Milwaukee County and our voter protection efforts there. It really is a pleasure to be on this call with all of you. I'm originally from Texas, but I say my home is in Illinois. I graduated from Loyola Law in Chicago, and I spent a number of years there working on different campaigns, different governmental offices, was a Cook County Fellow when I was still in grad school. Illinois has a near and dear place to my heart, and there's so much that the folks in Illinois can do to help support our voter protection efforts in Wisconsin, because we know it's a big lift for all the things that we need to do. You mentioned our voter protection assistance hotline. It's one of our main projects that we're running. Our absentee ballots are being mailed out starting on September 17th. And that's when we're going to be going live with our voter assistance hotline and live answering calls. But right now we're currently on voicemails, and we're still getting calls every day for folks asking for clarification around the absentee ballot process and around early voting and the safety protections that the city and the state are putting in place for them. So there's lots of movement there. We're also supplementing our governmental efforts in recruiting poll workers because the major problems that we had in Milwaukee for the most recent elections were all because of poll workers who had signed up, gone through training, but then in the end decided that they didn't feel safe enough to follow through. So our last that we heard from the city of Milwaukee was that they're about 750 poll workers short of running the full operation that they want to run. And so we're making this a big focus in pushing and recruiting folks who live in Milwaukee County to be poll workers in the county. And if you have anyone in your networks that's around here, that's a huge pull and lift that we need to make. For folks who are out of state, we have our Poll Observer program that we're doing constant trainings for, not only for Election Day, but also in the early voting days leading up to election. Our early voting starts October 20th, and we're looking to have a robust Poll Observer program to support not only Election Day, but also October 20th on and all of the early voting locations that we're going to have. Supporting those programs, we have our own phone banks, reaching out to specifically legal professionals to recruit them to be poll observers and volunteer on the voter protection hotline. But in no way does anyone have to have a legal background to be able to do this work. All it takes is a passion for making sure that people can safely cast their ballots and to share the information. That website that you shared, Jonathan, was incredible. We're working on something similar. For those who might not be familiar, Wisconsin election authorities are at the municipal level. So we have about 1,500 municipalities that we have to call and collect information from, and we are still compiling all of that data, even with Kanye's lawsuits. So changing all that up. But plenty of opportunities to get involved. I shared some links to the main one being our wisdems.org/voter protection to be able to sign up to connect and volunteer with our voter protection team. It's going to be absolutely crucial, and really appreciate anything you can do to help us.
I do also want to have a shout out for Lori Ashikawa, because she does have a working Wednesday every 10 a.m. to about 12. And she is working opportunities for Wisconsin voter protection right now. And she has a woman named Tammy from out east. It's all across the country, everybody. And Tammy comes in and trains the volunteers, and then they get to work. I know they've had a lot of success. I do have a side Indivisible team, Heartland Resistance Coalition, and one of my members who had been trained by the Lawyers Committee in Illinois has signed up as a poll observer, Colleen Doherty. If you're out there, we're very proud of you. She's already gone in for training, and Colleen is discriminating, and she was just blown away at how great the training was when she went to Wisconsin to get trained. So plenty for everybody to do, and we welcome everybody's efforts. And if I'm fast enough, I'll try to put the link in. Kelly, you're maybe a faster typer than me, but yeah, she is. We know that. So we can put the link in for working Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And we've had some good results, but we need, as Alexis said, we need some more poll workers, poll observers, and hotline people. And I just want to tell you that I have been a hotline person. I am not an attorney, and it went well. So they asked me to come back again. So I just really encourage everybody to sign up for Alexis, for Heba, and also to take a look at the website. I know we're at 7 to 8. I have some slides I can show, Lenny, or not show. It's up to you. We can open it up for discussion wherever you want to go with this. Okay. All right. I don't go too far, people, without my slide. So I am going to try to make this quick and make sure I can share my screen. So far, so good. Sorry about that. I want to make it big. Okay. So what we're talking about is really concentrating right now, as Jonathan alluded to mail-in ballots. Why do we say that? We say that because we have been taking direction from election authorities. I've learned a lot, actually, from my work in Wisconsin, but also from the directors of election clerks in Illinois. And right now, despite what you might hear, and we are hearing about some of the concerns, it is safe to request your mail-in application. And if you do request it now, you will get it in time. Of all the pictures of long lines that I have, Georgia, Nevada, this of course is from Wisconsin. I had the opportunity to speak to some of these voters in April when I was on the hotline. And this is really instilled in me. I don't want this to happen, of course, again, in Wisconsin, Illinois, or elsewhere. And we definitely feel that through voting by mail, we can avoid some of these dire situations that we saw during the primaries. So as Jonathan talked about and Lenny talked about, we are part of the Vote by Mail Taskforce. Help us. A lot of us are doing double, triple duty. We have a number of sub-teams. We have a social media team. We have a diversity team, which I'm going to actually concentrate my remarks on tonight. And we also have a voter education team as well. And many of our members from the Vote by Mail Task Force belong to all the teams. So if you want to help, we would welcome your assistance. I do have a link to my Google Slides. So all these links are available to you. And you'll see, of course, the website is on the front page right there, www.virusfreevotingillinois.org, easy to remember. If you would like to join our team, there is my email for you. I think that we're doing well because our numbers are growing and growing, and I'm going to give credit to the Vote by Mail Task Force for some of this. And we have a quote from Matt Dietrich. He is the comms, the communications person for the Illinois State Board of Elections. And this was back in August. He said surpassing 1 million. And as Jonathan stated, we're at 1.2 million. And also, as Jonathan let me know, that's about 15%. So we have a way to go. By comparison, we had 430,000 in 2018 general, and in 2016, 370K. So we're blowing those numbers away. I'm trying to preempt some questions. I want to let everybody know that's really nervous that they haven't received their ballots yet. They haven't received their ballots yet because they have not been sent out yet. They will be sent out starting September 24th. Here's a handy timeline. This is something created by the Better Government Association, and a couple of dates that are pertinent for you in case you forget. There's that September 24th. The suburban Cook County early voting starts on the 19th. If you vote in Chicago, like a lot of us on this call, including me, early voting in Chicago starts on October the 14th. We are telling folks time and time again, make a plan. You know, I remember requesting people to make a plan when I was canvassing. I think it makes a lot of sense to make a plan for voting by mail or voting early or whatever you decide to do. Try to figure it out now, because by nature, I think most of us, me included, are procrastinators. This is not the year that we can procrastinate. So if you are not registered, we have a link for you there. If you're not sure if you're registered or not, I could talk to you about the voter purge situation in Wisconsin. It does pay to check in to make sure that you're still on the list, especially in Wisconsin. These, of course, are all links for Illinois. You can update your address. This was another ask from the election authorities. We are a transient society, so please make sure, oftentimes we check with the utilities, we check with Netflix, we don't tell the election authorities, and it is critical that the election authorities have your correct address. So you'll see this, I have marketing background, so I reinstate things time and time again. Here's the website again. As Matt said, please pass this on. And we ask you not just by yourselves to apply for your mail-in ballot, we ask you to tell your networks to do the same. I'm not going to go too much into the voter fraud. I think that there was some tension there because of some of the things that were coming out of the administration. Voter fraud for voting by mail is not a thing. If you want proof, take a look at Jonathan and Sarah's website, and Matt has some great information too that he sent to us. I know there's concern about the post office. I feel confident that it's early enough for us to mail our ballots, our applications, but if you are concerned, there are going to be drop boxes. I know specifically for Chicago and suburban Cook, these drop boxes are secure. For Chicago, there's 51 early voting locations. The drop boxes are going to appear 20 days before November the 3rd. They are going to have attendance, and they are most definitely going to be very secure. Suburban Cook is going to have drop boxes also at early locations, and it is going to be available for you inside at Suburban Cook. So this is a chart that we like a lot. You saw it on the website. Again, you see what happens if we do apply early, we're okay. If we apply late, we're going to give so much agita to the election authorities. Sorry, I've been talking too much. My voice is leaving me. We encourage you to take part in our Twitter storms. Those Twitter storms are every Wednesday. We're very busy on Wednesday from 12 o'clock until 2 o'clock. All the links are available for you to take part. And these Twitter storms are important because we're getting the word out, and you'll see our numbers are actually much higher than this, over 1,000 tweets and over 1 million reached. Here's the action steps for you drawn out. Here's how you can register for the Twitter storms. Here's how you can use our social media kit if you are a loner and you just want to do this on your own time. You'll see once again the website. And I want to take some time, if my voice holds out here, to let you know about the phone banks. We are going to be starting phone banks for underserved communities. There's a link right here for you, and allow you to take a look at some of these bullets. We need to expand the right for underserved communities. It is often much more of a challenge for them to vote than people like me. If you are poor, Latino, or someone that moves frequently, you are less likely to vote. Minority voters are the ones that are more likely to wait in long lines, such as the one that we saw in Wisconsin, and you heard about the ones in Georgia, Nevada, and elsewhere. Poor voters are less likely to have time off work. And again, we want to keep them away from long lines. We want to keep them away from any kind of risk from COVID-19. Voters in big cities, who tend to be younger, poorer, and browner, have coped with more serious election problems than others voting in person and by mail during our COVID-19 primary season. So what can you do? Yes, we have lots of actions. We are starting phone banks. Our first one is going to be is going to be September the 6th from 4 to 8. Again, links are available. We would love to see a big, huge crowd. There have been 22 neighborhoods that we have identified. I think some of our pictures are covering some of the neighborhoods, but again, we have this link for you. Our friend Chris Patterson, who is with Institute for Nonviolence, has identified 22 neighborhoods in Chicago that need our assistance. Oftentimes, these folks don't get calls from people like us encouraging them to vote. And so please, 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 I know everyone's stretched, but if you can join myself and Carrie, who is going to be leading these phone banks, we would love to see all of you on these phone banks. Lenny mentioned in some earlier communication that I had with her via email that we are in dire need of poll workers. And Alexis very eloquently let us know how important that need is for not only Wisconsin, but also I have to say Illinois too. The last time I looked, we were at a shortage of 250,000 poll workers. And as it is important for equity reasons to have polling places open for all people, especially oftentimes our underserved communities. We can't keep the polling places open if we don't have judges. I know that. I am an election judge, and it's just impossible without election judges. So please sign up. I know there is an effort from LeBron James. I also saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in the mix on Twitter, so hopefully he's going to help us out. But we need poll workers. As Alexis, I think, alluded to, a lot of our poll workers are in the at-risk category, the ones that have done it in the past. And so we are looking for younger poll workers. I'm not going to get too much into the law. I'm running out of time already. I'm out of time. But we can allow for poll workers as young as 16 years old. So please help us recruit, or if you are in the not at-risk category, sign up yourself. We have a lot of amazing images, and this is one of them. And this was an image that was really informed to us by a gentleman that's leading a group called Black Millennial Renaissance. And we showed him some of the verbiage put together by ladies like me, and he turned it around and he said that this verbiage speaks to him. So I think it's poetic. We organized, we marched, now we vote. We're not done making history. November is coming. Hashtag virus-free voting Illinois. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Rose. That was fantastic. Your slide deck, thank you for sharing that. It's amazing. Heba and Alexis from Wisconsin Dems. I want to also thank you, Alexis, for bringing your energy. I see that you're actually standing. I will stand too in a minute here, and I encourage all of you who can to do so and to get active. And if you could commit to, there are only 9 Saturdays from now until Election Day. So can we do something 9 times? Yes, we can. Can we commit to doing, each shift is 2 hours long. Can we each, at least anybody who's listening right now, commit to 2 shifts, 2 2-hour shifts between now and Election Day? Yes, we can. And as Sarah was saying earlier, plug into where you have an interest, wherever your local group lies. She worked very hard on that spreadsheet to try to find those places where you could plug in. No matter where you are in Illinois, there is a place for you. And if there is not, then we'll help you form one. But truly, this work of saving democracy and working towards a more perfect union has been going on for decades and hundreds of years, and we just need to do what we need to do in this moment. It's exactly what Rose is saying. We're making history right now, so let's do it together. Let's go. So I want to point out again that we want to encourage people to vote in October if possible, and I also want to show off my button collection here before we sign off, because it is fantastic, and you can find all of these on resistancebuttons.com. Thank you, everyone, for being here. See you next time.